Your accounting department needs letters for information about storage.
Alright, we went over 1 through 14 yesterday, so we're going to check 15 through 27 real quick, and then I will work out anything that you need me to. So 15 is no solution. We call that an inconsistent system. 16, it reduces to 1/3 plus or minus I radical 5 over 3. You might have had just one big fraction, 1 plus or minus I radical 5 all over 3. Number 17, you should get 14 over 3 and negative 4 over 3. 18, you solve this, you get 2 answers, but you have to check them. And when you check them, 6 is the only one that works. Number 19, you get 2 answers, 11/5 and 1/5. 20 is 25. 21, you might have 5/4 plus or minus I radical 23 over 4. If you kept it as one big fraction, it would be 5 plus or minus I radical 23 all over 4. 22, couple different ways you can write this. I had 2a plus c minus 8 all over 3. You might have had 2a over 3 plus c over 3 minus 8 over 3. You might have had a negative 2a over negative 3 plus a negative c over negative 3 plus 8 over negative 3 if you didn't change your signs. So several different options there. Number 23, Bob has $10,000 at 7% and $12,000 at 6%. 24, your graph should look like this. You took your square root graph and moved it to the right 3. Domain bracket 3 to infinity. Range bracket 0 to infinity. Increasing from 3 to infinity. On the increasing, decreasing, it doesn't matter if you have a bracket or a parenthesis on the 3. Okay, 25, it took your absolute value and moved it up. 4, domain negative infinity to infinity. Range bracket 4 to infinity. Decreasing from negative infinity to 0 and increasing from 0 to infinity. 26, it moved your graph, your parabola down 5 and left 2. Domain negative infinity to positive infinity. Range bracket negative 5 to infinity. Decreasing from negative infinity to negative 2. Increasing from negative 2 to infinity. And 27, you had to make 3 t-charts. Your graph should look like this. Okay, that's an open circle right here. So, now let's look through and see which ones you want me to work out. 15 through 27. What do we need to talk about? Yep. 23. Everybody's favorite, the word problems, huh? Okay, so this one is an investment. We're going to take this $22,000 and you're going to put it in 2 different investments, some of them at 6 and some of it at 7%. So you make a table here to help organize what's going on. When we're talking about interest, we do principal times rate times time equals interest. Your rows are your different investments, so we had a 7%, we had a 6%, and then I'm just going to call it a total. Now we have to fill in the blanks. So Bob has $22,000. Where does that number go? It's his beginning principal, so total principal, $22,000. He invests some of it at 7%. If I just said some, do we know how much that is? So I'm going to call that X. The rest of it at 6%. So let's think here. If you have $22 and you give me 10, how much do you have left? Okay, how'd you get it? Yeah, subtract 22,000 minus X. Okay, rate. 7% would be 6% Did I give you a rate for the overall thing? Okay, so we'll just leave that blank. Time is always in years. Most of the time, I would say annual interest, which annual just means 1 year. This time I switched it up on you. I said 6 months. So what would my time be? 0.5, half a year. Okay, and then at the end of it, he received $710. What is that? Total interest. Okay, that's the hard part. Now, to get these, we just do the formula. P times R times T. So X times 0.07 times 0.5, 0.035X. Here, 0.06 times 0.5 would be 0.03 times the 22,000 minus X. And then at this point, the formula is the same every time. You add the first two to equal your total. All right, distribute my 0.03. And what does that give me? 660? Like terms, 0.035x minus 0.03x, 0.005x. Subtract this 660 to the other side, equals 50. Divide by 0.005, and you get 10,000. How do you have to answer these? In a sentence. The question was, how much did Bob invest at each rate? So Bob invests $10,000 at X was my 7%, and 22,000 minus 10,000 is $12,000 at 6%. There is a word problem, an interest word problem on your final. Okay, we did several different types of word problems. We did distance ones and interest and mixture. I'm telling you, the one I put on the study guide was an interest, and the one on your final is an interest one. Okay. What else? Yes.
Problem 20.
Number 20. Okay, so this one looks kind of nasty because of the fractions, but it's really just solving a linear equation. We just have x to the first, so our goal is going to be to get x by itself. Where would we start here? Distribute. So we get a 2/7 x minus 8/7. If you get hung up on the fractions, you have a calculator, so you can always use that. Add like terms. This is like 2/7 minus 1. So again, if you had to, you could use your calculator. That should give you a negative 5/7 x. Okay, I need all of my x's on one side and everything without an x on the other. So I'm going to add over the 3/5 x. So negative 4/35 x. You guys double checking me, or do you just believe everything I say?
That's what I'm getting.
Add over our 8/7, and that would give me a negative 20/7. Okay, at this point, to get x by itself, you have a couple options. You can divide by the 4 over 35. If you do that, make sure you put both of your fractions in parentheses when you put it in your calculator. The alternative, dividing by a fraction, is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So then we would get x equals, again, if you're using a calculator, put both of those in parentheses, and we should get positive 25. What else? Okay. All right, a piecewise graph. So when we graph these piecewise functions, I've always told you to make a t-chart for each piece. So since there are 3 pieces, we need 3 charts. Okay, so we start with the first chart. What's the first x value we have to plug in? 2. Will it be open or closed at 2? Closed, because it's equal to. And then I need x's less than 2. So maybe like 1 and 0. Okay, I'm plugging them into x plus 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3, 1 plus 1 is 2, 0 plus 1 is 1. So if we plot those, we've got 2, 3, 1, 2, 0, 1. It started here and it was extending with x's less than, so it only went this direction. Now we go to the second piece. This one, there's actually 2 x's we have to plug in. What do we have to put in? Okay, what do you notice about 2? It will be open because there's no equal to. And then if you want, you could plug a 3 in if you want something in between those. Okay, this time it says I'm getting out 3. So no matter what we plug in, we always get out 3. So 2, 3, I said it was open, but it's already a closed circle on my graph, so you just leave it closed. Then we have 3, 3, and 4, 3. So we just get a little horizontal line there. Last one, we need x is greater than 4. So we start with the 4. Will it be open or closed? Open, because there's no equal to, and we need things greater than that, so bigger than 4, maybe a 5 and a 6. Okay, so negative 2 times 4 would be negative 8 plus 7, negative 1. Plug in a 5, we get negative 3, 6, negative 12 plus 7 would be negative 5. So 4, negative 1 is open. 5, negative 3, 6, negative 5, and extends that way. These are functions. When you're done, it should pass the vertical line test. If yours doesn't, then you've made a mistake. Make sure if you got this wrong, you are correcting it. Remember, you will turn in your final study guide before the final to get your credit for it. What else? absolute value equations, you always have to solve two different equations. You have to set it equal to the positive and the negative. But before you do that, you have to isolate the absolute value. So my first step, I have to get this absolute value by itself. What will we do? Okay. Then I have the absolute value of 5x minus 6 equals 5. Now we do two equations. That means either 5x minus 6 is equal to a positive 5 or 5x minus 6 equals negative 5. Solve each of those. So if I add over my set 6 and divide by 5, get 11/5. Over here, add my 6, divide by 5, and I get 1/5. You should check your answer on these. Problem 18, when you plug that in, I think one of the answers you got was 1. But when you checked it, when you plugged the 1 back in, it didn't work because one side was equal to positive 5 and the other was equal to negative 5. So always a good idea on these to check them. But if I put these into the original, 11/5 times 5 would be 11 minus 6 is 5. So that works. 1/5, I get a negative 5 in here, but the absolute value is positive, plus 3 is 8. So they do both work. So make sure you're checking your answers. Just plug them back into the beginning. Anything else?
18.
Okay, so another absolute value. First step, isolate the absolute value, but it is already by itself. So we can go straight into the two equations. The first one, you just drop the absolute value. The second one, you have to set it equal to a negative, which in this case means we will have to distribute a negative through there. So if I solve these, and this one, if I subtract over my 3x, gives me a negative 2x. Subtract my 4 equals negative 12. Divide by negative 2 and we get 6. Over here, first distribute that negative. And we can add over the 3x. Subtract your 4. And we get 1. But what do I need to do? Check it. Okay, if I put a 6 in there, 6 plus 4 is 10. Over here we get 6 times 3 is 18 minus 8. So we get 10 equals 10. So that works. 6 is an answer. If I put in 1, we get the absolute value of 5 equals 3 minus 8. So 5 equals negative 5. Does that work? No. So that's why the 1 doesn't work, and 6 is our only answer. Okay, anything else? So, we have gone over 15 through 27 so far. For tomorrow, I would like for you to finish it. So that's 28 through 40. I'd like for you to do. Then tomorrow is our last day of final review, so we'll go over those. And then any extra class time that we have left, I'm probably just going to hit some of the higher point value questions that would be on the final, so do some extra practice like another word problem, another common denominator problem, some of those things that we had a little more trouble with. So I'll probably just do some general review after that. Tomorrow after we finish, I will also post the answer key to the study guide in classroom in case there's something that you missed, then you'll have the opportunity to go back and look at it. And if you are doing test retakes, what do you need to do? Come see me today. Okay, come in during advisory, touch base with me, and let me know that you are still planning to do that so we can get it taken care of before the end of the day Friday. Okay, it has to be done this week.